bro, if this wasn't the son of Rampage Jackson, would we have known about this? You wouldn't have known about this outside of wrestling. I could tell you that. They wouldn't have been talking about this on Adam Carolla if this was not the son of Rampage Jackson. So my point is, how many times does this happen that we're not even aware of it?
What's going on, everybody? This is Dr. Chris Featherstone here for yet another episode of the Wrestling Outlaws. I'm here with the Outlaws themselves. We got Vince Russo with the flexi biceps with the guns of steel, ladies and gentlemen. And we have fellow guns of steel EC3 in the building. And I am Dr. Chris here, ready to be the sheriff of this town to get this show rocking and rolling. Before that, gentlemen, how are you?
Look at that.
Yeehaw, partners. Huh?
Nice indeed. Very nice.
You see, it's an outlaw, and I have a hat. Cowboy hat.
Very fitting.
You think it's a good look? I don't hate it, you know? And with the blue light blockers where you can see my reflection in the of perfection. Yeah, all right, whatever. I'm rambling. Let's get cooking.
Very quick. Make that into a gimmick. Go.
Call me Cowpoke Trace. All right? And I got the drinking of Doc Holliday, the shooting of Doc Holliday, the death wish of Doc Holliday, and the dialect of Doc Holliday. And I'm Doc Holliday. Sick gimmick.
There you go. Very nice. Very nice. All right, let's talk about just one of the most viral things going on right now is the situation within Knox Pro Wrestling with the son of Quentin Rampage Jackson, former UFC light heavyweight champion, son Raja Jackson, who was endeavoring into the world of MMA as well. And he was asked to be a guest at a show at Knox Pro with AJ Mana, I believe his name is. AJ Mana. Have you worked with him, EC3, ever? No?
No, partner. Have not. AJ Mana?
Yeah, I think it's AJ Mana.
Yeah, maybe. I've been around places. But off the top of my head.
Okay. Yeah, Knox Pro, of course, that's Rikishi's company, and WWE ID affiliated company before this happened. And now it's no longer a WWE ID affiliated company. Of course, if you're watching this show, I'm really sure you're very aware of what's happening. So there's no need for a big backdrop. So let's just get right into it. Let's start with you, EC3, as a competitor.
Yes.
If matter of fact, you let the listeners know what in your mind is a receipt. In your mind is just like many other wrestlers' minds when it comes to what a receipt is. Mm-hmm. A receipt, the receipt would be, hey, I got hit with a beer bottle that was basically gimmicked. It was there was little to nothing that sprayed out of that daggone beer bottle. He said, do you want to sell it? Okay. Wasn't the best idea. Didn't get any, didn't get any consent, when it comes to that. So, okay. Well, I'm going to get my receipt to the receipt to someone who isn't a wrestler, mm-hmm. which is Raja, is to beat him lifeless, A receipt in your mind, EC3, speak for the wrestling community when it comes to a receipt, my man.
In professional wrestling decorum and the professional life of the business, receipt can simply be identified as 1 for 1. Got you back. Yep. Tagged you back in the general vicinity of the description. There's a lot more context within that story, but for that answer, it's 1 for 1. You get me, I get you back. I know we're on the same page. Like, mistakes do happen. We get that. But
EC3, can I interrupt you here for a second? As one of the boys, doesn't a receipt usually take place within the body of a match? Like there are no predetermined receipts. Basically, if somebody potatoes you, the receipt is to potato back to say that was a little stiff. Somebody doesn't potato you, and then a week later you give them a receipt. I mean,
after an apology, by the way.
Yeah, isn't it usually in within the context of that match?
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
Yeah, but based on that context of 1-for-1 within the match or the segment or what have you. But then I was going to probably go into then, if discussed after or apologies are given, received, and accepted, then usually all is well. Perhaps at a later date, to Vince's point, we're back in it. Maybe just one as a okay, and then even. But when the apology is given to, maybe one comes later with not as much as intent, but more so usually when two grown swinging D alpha males kind of have a blow up and have an apology, there's a mutual respect where that mutual respect can lead to we can be a little snug. And say I tag somebody, apologize, bro, man, I got a bad right hand. Hey, no worries. I'll get you back. Haha, I know. Boom. Week later, we're working. Whap. Oh, told you. Understood. Even. Yes.
Well said. Yeah. So what went wrong?
Everything.
Receipt. Yeah, for sure. And that's why I'm trying to centralize it or try to filter this topic here to something. It's been discussed so many times, but I do want to talk about this receipt factor, though. So Raja didn't know what this was. AJ Mana talks to him backstage, and this is post Stu handshake apology. All right, so this is post that. AJ Mana
real fast because
absolutely.
I've seen it and I've heard a little bit about it. Most of what I've gotten from this scenario has been through mainstream outlets, so I haven't seen the in-depth wrestling coverage of it as far as like what has happened. So some of this might be new to me as far as what you're saying. So I'm just taking it in.
Yep. So post apology from Stu, from Syko Stu, handshakes, all is clear, everything's good. They're backstage. AJ Mana just eggs on Raja. Eggs him on, and then he said, get your receipt, things like that. Again, dude is not a wrestler. So that's the reason why I started this off by saying, in the wrestling world, what is a receipt? What is the understanding of what a receipt is? So even if Stu knew that he was going to get a receipt, which we don't know if he knew or not, but even if he knew that he was going to get a receipt, he wasn't expecting a double leg shoot slam that was succeeded by 23 shots to him successfully. That is not a receipt. That never was a receipt. And who in the world would try to explain a receipt to a wrestler to a non-wrestler, an MMA star, as if he knew it? And even before that, EC3, and I want your thoughts on this before I get to Vince. Even before that, he's a streamer. He's 25. He doesn't want his pride to be down the crapper. And so he wants to feel like he's getting some type of brownie points from the streaming community. And he's on his kick stream and being egged on even more. So now you have AJ egging him on. And now you have petulant streamers egging him on too. And that is a disaster waiting to happen, as we saw. So with that being said, that's more context into that you might not have known about. So what's your take on that?
I mean, no matter, there's a lot, but no matter who says what or who influences you, like decisions ultimately lie within you. So people can tell me things via streaming and screaming and yelling and online banter and chat boards and threads. And it is to me to discern that information and act accordingly, or act on what I know is right and what I know is wrong. So it doesn't help adding fuel to a fire, but at the same time, you start the fire, you're responsible for lighting the match and pouring the gasoline and getting the timber and putting it all together in one instance. So no matter who said what, I think wrestling is such a unique lifestyle. A lot of comparisons to MMA with wrestling as far as physicality, though theirs is shoot and ours is worked. We bond fairly well because we know the physical tolls and the kind of like, especially a sport like jiu-jitsu, there is a brotherhood and a bond that comes with sharing the mats and sparring and grappling. And, you know, within jiu-jitsu community is the most tight-knit, but at the end of the day, they are tapping each other out, but also respecting the fact that win or loss matters not as much as we are doing this together to improve ourselves. So when you bring, this is a wrestling bubble, and the issue and the dementia these people have when they're just so stuck within wrestling and the lingo and the brother, and it's usually people that don't really go to super high levels. It's kind of this like off community indie shit, sorry, but they live within it so much they don't know how to communicate with real human beings, and it's kind of pathetic, and it's really what dissuades me from dealing with a lot of them, because like a fighter, an athlete, like bringing him, telling him about a receipt, like this guy's gonna allow you to hit him or you gotta get it back. Get what back? The dumb segment you put him in with prop bottles, and nobody knows how to execute these things properly. Like hitting him with a beer can and then like the apology, like, yep, gotta get your receipt, brother. Brother lingo, right? Oh, let's go work the gimmick. Oh, what's your shoot job? Shut up with it. It's nauseating, like what they have brought this down to. So telling a man who does not know what you're saying and is in kind of a unique scenario and probably feels his pride was hurt because he did get hit pretty hard, though there was an apology, then there's voices screaming at him to get it back, knowing no, like fallout, it will come upon them, and they have no idea what these actions will resonate. And when you are a fighter and an athlete and you're in the zone or you see red, I'm not forgiving him because it was horrible, but like you lose it sometimes. So it's like the worst thing ever, and everybody's responsible, but solely the one true responsibility lies on Jackson for going through with it, because at some point you know what you are doing, and malicious, flagrant, awful, terrible. That's the other thing about wrestling other people don't understand when you bring them in, that what we are willing, like the trust we have in each other. And that's why some of the things that have happened throughout my career, I've never hurt anybody, which is one of my proudest things, where I've been concussed and thrown poorly and dropped on my head with slams. And this is in the WWE too, by people that shouldn't even be in a ring. So I'm defensive over that trust you have to have in other people and how frivolous it can be to some, but how serious it is to those that really understand this. Okay.
Indeed. Vince Russo, what's your take on all this, my man, knowing the information that we have so far?
I don't know, bro. You just, again, Chris, we were talking about this on the last show. You just got so many uneducated people in wrestling. You got so many uneducated people at the highest level. You know, here's the one thing I don't understand, bro, is, you know, he was an MMA fighter. He only had one match, one fight.
Lost.
However, even with MMA fighters, Chris, yeah, I'm not an MMA guy, but I know enough to know this. When you've knocked a guy out, and you got him down, you get up. Well, I've seen that a million times. When you know you beat a man, you get up.
Sometimes you guys, like, sorry to cut in, but like, think they've got him and knocked him out and get up, and the ref didn't call it, and he's not knocked out, and then they end up losing the fight because like,
they reverse it. Yeah.
When you do that too, you don't want to murder people.
Yeah, and that's the thing. How he knew I think he was out on the slam. I think he was out there. I think he was out before he took a shot to the face. But you know the guy is out. Like unless, bro, like this dude like literally just snapped. You know what I mean? I mean, there's no other explanation than that because the dude is out. And bro, I'm telling you, that one guy, I forget his name, but that one dude saved his life.
Oh yeah,
if he did not, bro, get involved, that Stu would be dead. He would be dead.
Yeah, man. You know, I was talking about this on my show as far as like, you know, people were saying attempted murder. You know, it's when it comes to the courts, man, I was taking out my criminal justice master's degree. And I was thinking about this as far as like, what would be a charge that they would aim for? Now you can aim for a charge, and oftentimes they aim high, and then they, you know, you get smaller charges, just because, like for instance, this would be aggravated assault and battery because you have threat to harm, which is assault, and then you have actual physical harm, which is battery, and then aggravated because the weapon, you know, the weapons of his hands are used excessively, like excessive force. And here's the thing though, attempted murder may come on the table because that is probably, you know, you're thinking of a 15 plus year sentence. He most likely won't get that. But at the same time, it does give him an opportunity to have other charges tacked on with them that he would do a 6, 7, 8 year sentence. You know, I think that at this point, you got to look at this stuff and you got to look at what's actually on the table and proven to be true. Like this, the thing is, if a defense attorney, and when a defense attorney is being hired by Roger Jackson, I know that Rampage he's got money. It's not about whether you did it or not. And in cases like this, you know, oftentimes in courts, it's like, okay, innocent till proven guilty, right? So the defense attorney is like, okay, so I'm going to prove his innocence because it's not beyond a shadow of a doubt that he's guilty. It is as clear as day. And so now defense attorneys would be hired to reduce his sentence. And so that's what they're probably going to be working on with this situation. And it's the thing is, man, if he gets very little to nothing, I think it would just really be a black eye to the industry, man. I really do think, because I think at this point, man, you're looking at a story that has proportions of being one of the darkest moments in the history of pro wrestling. This is like mass transit, you know, proportions at this point, back in ECW. And so you have a black eye in professional wrestling, and you have someone who almost killed somebody, and he gets off with probation for 10 years or a couple years in prison. For the sake of the industry, you got to lawyer up and try to throw the book at this guy, you know what I mean, because of what he's done. And so, yeah, you blacked out, man, but you got to pay consequences for your actions, period, point blank. So.
It's a lot of blame to throw around. Ultimately, it lays there. But it's like, again, how Vince said that this mindset, this wrestler, like, I call it a loser mentality. Losers, dude. And how they reach high levels now. One thing I can tell you is that the people that really have made it, like high level humans, and I don't want to name names, but like if you think of top guys or you think of a high level in creative or production or things like this, they talk like human beings, you know. They can talk about real world stuff, And it's that subset culture that lives or dies in this stupid little bubble. And the carny lingo, and I would just like to say, telling some dude who doesn't understand, who's physically intimidating and lethal, trained in it, that you got to get your receipt, like, nice rib at, because I'm sure you're really rib brother, didn't I? Watch this. Right. Oh my God. You, dude. Sorry.
Chris, you know what's amazing from a psychological standpoint? This is the stuff about this business that blows my mind. Look at the extremes under the umbrella of this business. Okay, you've got the Performance Center, and you got NXT, and you've got these bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kids who, when I was 10 years old, I wanted to be a professional. You've got the Alexa Blisses, the Johnny Garganos, the Candice LaRue's. You've got these bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kids going through this system, the dream of becoming a professional wrestler. Then you literally have these animals, like you've got they're outlaws. They're out. Chris, it blows my mind how do you have such extremes that are part of the same business? Like, think about that, bro. That spectrum is so wide. Yeah. So then, bro, what are you going to wind up with? You're going to wind up with these bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kids in there with convicts and felons and freaking killers? Like, is that what you're going to wind up with at the end of the day?
Mm-hmm.
How many, Vince, pedo, kid toucher, delinquent, just cultural criminals are training people to wrestle? I'll take you all the way to the top. Like, these naive young people who find something they love and want to chase a dream, per se. And they're like, well, how do I start? Go to a wrestling school. I mean, what's the difference between, I can move to Louisville, Kentucky and pay $2,000 to go to OVW, or I got to go to 12 weeks out in Des Moines, Iowa, or wherever. Rollins, these professional people, Black and Brave, myself with Exodus in Cleveland, Dudley's, but they're higher end and you have to move. Or, I can get started down the street at this guy's place, and just, they're young and they're naive and they're impressionable and they fall into these traps of these life losers. How does it, the dichotomy that Vince described is horrible.
I mean, think about what EC3 just said, Chris. Chris, how many stories don't we hear about?
Right.
How many times is this? How many times is this a one and done? Like EC3 said, with an impressionable young kid who's got no idea what he's getting into, and then steps in this type of a situation. How many stories don't we hear about?
How much?
100%.
Because you know what? Here's the fact of the matter, EC3 and Chris. Let's be honest, and this was the conversation I had with Stevie Ray today. Bro, if this wasn't the son of Rampage Jackson, would we have known about this? You wouldn't have known about this outside of wrestling. I could tell you that. They wouldn't have been talking about this on Adam Carolla if this was not the son of Rampage Jackson. So my point is, how many times does this happen that we're not even aware of it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And even more to what you're saying, Vince, it was a WWE ID affiliated, company, and so I'm sure, there's an indie company on every block, around this country. And so I'm sure this happens significantly more than what we see right there. And that's usually when it comes to situations like this too. That's just media, period. For every Rampage Jackson story, there's 100 other stories that happen the same week. You know what I mean? And that's how it is just with criminal cases, period. The media doesn't encapsulate all of crime, right? The media doesn't encapsulate all of different stories that are buzzworthy and catching. They just catch a little bit. It's a very small portion of things that happens throughout the country and even the world on a grander scale. It's a very small sample size of what we see and what actually happens in real life. So this situation is of a very minuscule sample size of what happens just on a grander scheme in this industry, man. EC3 has something to share?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much we want to harp on it. It's like a couple things. One, some of the people that come find me and then do train with me and where they came from, like, I almost thank God they found me, because if they haven't, I don't know what path they would have been on with what awful people that steal their money and abuse them mentally, physically, which, I mean, goes on in all companies, let's be honest. But it's like I would do seminars often, and I love to do them because I love to, like, pay forward what I know, and I, like, take people into account and, like, break them down in a different way, because I'm not doing how do you do? Hey, good job. You can make it one day, kid. Thanks for the $70. All right, see ya. Yeah. But, like, I would get frustrated a lot seeing how much they don't know. And they don't, like, you're paying money to learn this from these people who are teaching you nothing, and they're ruining you, and they're actually teaching you so bad that were you to ever go get trained right or have an opportunity, like, you're so broken fundamentally and mentally, you have, like, you're lost, and you'll never be able to go anywhere and make money doing this, your dream. Like, and it used to be like, oh, the kids these days, like, they don't listen. Oh, nobody gets it. Oh, they're influenced by watching all this, you know, gifts and blah, blah. And I started thinking about it, and I'm like, no, they're not at fault. They're doing what they're taught and what they're told. And what they're told is wrong. And if they're being told this, wrestling, so wrong, what models are they living up to? Who are their influences, their mentors, their coaches, their trainers? Who are these people? And they're causing serious damage to more than likely very good people who just want to do something incredible.
Indeed.